Welcome to the Edge You Magic New Educator podcast, the go-to show for supporting new educators navigating the exciting journey from campus to the classroom. Join your host, Dr. Sam Fessich, for a blend of inspiration, advice, and practical strategies, one cup of coffee at a time.
I'm Chris Nessie, host of Behind the Mic, Voices of the EPN, a part of the Education Podcast Network. Just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hello, EduMagicians, and welcome back to another episode of the EduMagic Podcast. My name is Dr. Sam Fessich, and don't worry, student teachers, it's not too late to get organized. Don't worry, student teachers, it's not too late to get organized. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down some key pieces that you're going to want to have in your student teacher planner, because let's face it, sometimes it can get overwhelming with what to put in there, how to organize it, and everything else. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So the first thing you're going to have in your student teacher planner is a spot where you can jot down details of your placement. For example, you're going to want to have information related to your mentor teacher, their email, their classroom number, the school name, their address, and district. Just in case, it's always good to have that information. Your college supervisor's name and email, phone number, and your placement date. So when does your placement start? When does your placement begin? Also begin with some reflection upon your student teaching. So what are some areas that you are glowing in? You're doing really well. And what are some areas that you want to grow in as a student teacher? Draft those out. Think about what are some accomplishments you've had throughout your 3 years of college as a senior. You're going into your fourth year. What are some areas that you feel really confident in? And what are some areas in which you need to improve upon? You might want to look at your education department standards to identify some of those and some areas that you need to work on. Also have a spot in your student teacher planner where you can jot down accomplishments, because you're going to need to look at those every once in a while. Sometimes you're going to have a really bad day, but you know what? It's all right. You're going to jot down your accomplishments that you've had throughout your student teaching experience. You can add in areas of focus and some ways you're going to accomplish some of your areas of growth. Another nice piece to have in your student teacher planner is a spot for your state standards or Common Core standards. Now, you can print out all of your standards and put them into your student teacher planner. Or what I like to tell student teachers is to get a QR code that goes right to the link of your state standards or of the core standards that you're going to be using, and pop that into your planner. So you can just scan the link and find those standards super easy. If you need to have them printed though for your department or for your supervisor, you're going to want to have that done. Another nice piece to think about in your student teacher planner is to identify policies and procedures, especially during those first few weeks. So some areas to think about when you're looking at policies and procedures. How does your co-op take attendance, lunch count? How do they collect homework? How do they collect missing work, late work, or absent work? How do they work with students who finish their work early or students who need extra support? How do students enter and exit the classroom? What are those different types of expectations that your co-op has for their class? You're also going to want to jot down what are their policies for remote learning days or digital learning days. If that is something that your district is looking at, you're going to want to know what are those policies. And if your classroom uses Google Classroom, Teams, Blackboard, whatever it might be, make sure you have access to that information as a student teacher so you're able to help support your co-op during those virtual learning days. Another really nice piece to have in your student teacher planner, besides your fully written lesson plans, right? We have fully written lesson plans for all of our class periods in which we're teaching, is a really quick lesson plan at a glance. So after you write down your lesson plan in full detail per your department and your cooperating teacher's satisfaction, you got to get that information in there. I would love to see like a lesson plan at a glance. This is super helpful when you're preparing for your lesson, just to help review, okay, what am I teaching? And am I fully prepared for this? At a lesson plan at a glance includes your subject that you're teaching, the standards, materials, and resources. What's your objective? What are your quick procedures that you're going to be using to teach that lesson? How are you assessing? And are there any accommodations you need to make? These are really quick points just to jot down. So if you get lost in your lesson, you can refer to this instead of flipping through your 5-page lesson plan. You have a really quick lesson plan at a glance. And then after you're done teaching that, reflect on it. What are some things you observed during your lesson? What are some takeaways? What are some strengths you had in your lesson? What are some areas of growth? Another nice piece you're going to want to have in your student teacher planner is a spot that identifies your schedule. So you have somewhere listed that all the times or the periods, and then you have along the top Monday through Friday, and then you can jot down when you're teaching or when you're supporting your teacher or when the special is or when the assembly is or when lunch, all those different things so you stay organized as a student teacher. In addition to that, having lots of different calendars could be helpful. So include in your student teacher planner a monthly calendar, a weekly calendar, and even a daily schedule. So you can jot down all those things to keep yourself organized. In addition, include a copy of your school district's calendar and mark any days that you might have off or that you have practicum or anything like that. So you can jot that down in your calendar and include a copy of your university or college's calendars so you know when your breaks are and if you need to student teach during those breaks. Another nice thing to add to your calendar would be any observances or any holidays, any events happening at the school. So you don't forget to participate in that event because it's always great to participate. Another nice feature within your planner are spots for you to document any teaching and observation time. So sometimes, you're going to be teaching periods 1, 2, and 3, and maybe you're still observing period 4 and jotting down those ideas. And maybe you're taking students to their special, or maybe you're taking students to a different classroom for something. So making sure you jot down your teaching time and your observation time and double check with your department if there is a specific requirement for how many teaching hours you need over how many observation hours. And keep track of that with dates, time in, time out, and total times for teaching and observation. Another nice piece within your student teacher planner is to have a spot for you to reflect weekly and have some ideas of areas that you'd want to reflect upon. For example, maybe you want to reflect upon family involvement. Maybe you'd like to reflect upon classroom management, classroom layout. You can also think about some areas to reflect upon based on the Danielson Framework for Teaching. So the Danielson Framework for Teaching just updated in 2022. You can head on over to their site and you'll notice when you click on the different domains that there are different questions for each component. That could be a great starting point for reflection as well, to make sure that you are reflecting upon your student teaching process. And then one more thing you're going to have in your student teacher planner is a spot for notes. So grab that blank sheet of paper or that lined paper, loose leaf paper, pop that in at the end of your binder so you can just jot down notes, anything that comes to mind. This could be a good spot for you to jot down any homework or quick questions that you might have. So friends, again, it's not too late to get organized for student teaching. If all this sounds like, oh, I wish this was done for me, guess what? It is. I have a student teacher planner out on my sfessage.com site. You can grab it and download it for $8. So it's student teacher budget friendly. You can download it and use it in OneNote so you can jot down your stuff digitally, or you can print it out and you can download it and print it out. So friends, if you're looking for all this and more for $8, you can download the Student Teacher Planner. It's going to help you stay organized and ready to roll for your first placement or your second placement. Friends, this is a fantastic resource, and at $8, it is a steal. So head on over to sfessage.com and you can find your Student Teacher Planner right over there under Shop. And you can grab it today, download it, and get yourself organized. Your future student teacher self will thank you. That's all I have for you today, friends. I hope you have a fantastic student teaching experience. And remember, you have the EduMagic. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the EduMagic New Educator podcast. If you found it helpful, please leave a rating and review or share it with a friend. Always remember, you have the EduMagic in you.